So welcome everyone, my name is Max and today we'll be going over some of the tools and features in Maptitude that pertain to logistics and routing. So for today, I'll be using the sample logistics United States data here. So in this Excel spreadsheet, we have the client name as well as the street address, city, state, and then zip code. So this is the information that Maptitude will be using to locate the data in the Excel file here. Additionally, we also have information on the opening and closing time, the number of units that each client will need to receive, as well as the time it takes to service each of these clients here. We'll get into more details about these columns later on today. We also have this sites field here. We also have the site name, street address, city, state, zip code, which Maptitude will use to map the data. So we'll switch over to Maptitude. And the first thing that I can do is I can choose new map of my data table spreadsheet since we are importing data from an Excel file. So I'll go ahead and browse for the Excel file here. And then I can choose to map the client's sheet first. In this page here, I'll make sure to match up the columns in my Excel file with the information that they're supposed to represent. So we have address, city, state, and zip code. If you already have longitude and latitude, you can specify those here as well. Next, I can choose how Maptitude will show or display my data on the map. In this case, we want to show each client as their own point or their own location on the map. So I'll choose the locate records in our file by address. Next, we have the option to link our data. So this means that if I choose to link it, any changes that I make to the Excel spreadsheet will also be reflected in the Maptitude map. For now, I'll just do a one-time import and go ahead, click next. We can choose a type of theme here. So in our case, since we have a column in our Excel file in the client's sheet here, we have the number of units. We can display this as a size theme. So what that means is clients that are requesting a larger number of units would be displayed on the map as larger points. We can also choose to display the labels. So then we can see the client name next to each of the dots here. Finally, we can do an analysis. So as an example here, I can choose the density map or a heat map, which will show us where the concentration of our customers are or our clients. I can also choose a weighting field. In this case, we can choose the number of units. So clients that are requesting a higher number of units will have more weight to them in this heat map analysis. So once I click finish, Maptitude will tell me how many of our records were located. So all 60 of them were located. And go ahead and click OK, and then the map will be displayed shortly. Okay. So now that we have the map open, on the left-hand side here in the display manager, I can click on the green checkmark in order to temporarily hide a layer. So right now I can see this density map showing that this stretch, this street here, has the highest concentration of our clients. And if I go ahead and hide that density map and show our clients, I can see that that is the case here. I can also see that the clients with a larger number of units being requested are displayed larger on the map as well. So the next step here is we can go ahead and map out these sites as well. So I can go to map and then add table or spreadsheet to a map. Choose the same Excel file. But this time we'll choose the sites tab here. We'll do the same process, which is matching the Excel columns to the appropriate fields here. We want to locate each of these sites by their address, and we want to add this data to the existing map that's in the background here. We'll choose a one-time import. And this time, we don't want any type of theme, but we do want to display the site name as a label. And we don't want any type of density analysis, but for this map here, we can do a buffer analysis or a radius analysis. So this can visualize the coverage area for each of our sites. So let's say we want to see what a half-mile radius looks like from each of our site locations. So I can enter in multiple sizes for my radius. And then I can also choose to generate a report. So I'll skip the reports for now, and then I can go ahead and click finish, just to visualize what a half-mile looks like. So all 5 of my records were located. I'll click OK. And then I can see what the half-mile radius looks like from each of our sites. Right. So now that we have our 5 sites here, we can go ahead and run some analyses with these 2 layers here. First thing that I'd like to do is to create drive time rings. So we've seen how to create radius or buffers around our points, and this is a flat distance going out from each of these sites here. With the drive time rings, we are able to do a more accurate depiction of the coverage. So it will take into account the conditions of the streets, and we can either do that by distance or by time. So in this case, we're able to visualize what a 5-minute driving time looks like going from each of these sites here. So to do that, I'll go ahead and go to Tools, Routing and Directions, and then go to Drive Time Rings. In this toolbox here, I can either use this button here to click on locations on the map, or I can use the third one here to add locations from an existing layer. So I want to do this for the sites layer. And instead of time, maybe we'll do using distance instead. So let's say we want to see 3 rings each of half-mile driving distance. We can go ahead and click this button to create those drive time rings. So I'll be able to see in a second here what a half-mile, 1 mile, and then 1.5-mile drive looks like. And this is helpful because we're able to see which of our clients are contained within each of these buffers or radius. Right, so let's say we want to be able to see specifically which clients are either contained in the 1.5, 1 mile, or 0.5 drive time ring. We can go ahead and use the tag points by area. So I'll go ahead and right-click the client's layer, choose Make Working Layer, and then I'll go to Tools, Analysis, and then Tag Points by area. You can choose to do all the features or all the clients, and then we can choose the drive time rings layer as our source data layer. So I want to tag using the distance for each of these drive time rings. So that's in the To field here. So I can go ahead and click OK. And then in this new column that's appeared in the table, I can see that these specific customers are in the specific radius from my sites. So I can go ahead, go to the left. I'll select this column and I can freeze this column by clicking this yellow lock icon here. So now if I scroll to the right, I'll still be able to see the client name here. So client 28 is within a 1.5-mile drive from at least one of our sites. So that's how we're able to make use of the drive time rings here. We can also calculate the demographics for each of these driving time rings if you're interested in that, and you can go to the fifth button here, calculate demographics, in order to run that demographic analysis. So go ahead and show you how we can customize that demographic analysis. We can go to the options here. Let's say we want to calculate the number of units and the number of clients in each of these drive time rings. We can go to the options here. And then under the settings, we can go to the demographics, configuration. And then instead of using the US Census overlay, which will calculate things like population, median household income, we'll change this to our clients layer. We'll change it to our clients layer, and we'll click the options button here. And we can change the fields that are being calculated. So I can go to filter, and then change these fields that are being calculated. So I'll hit clear. And then in this case, I just want the number of units. So here we're able to see the total number of units by clicking the add column here. And we can also see the average number of units for each ring and the highest, lowest standard deviation as well. For this example, I'll just do the sum or the total number of units in each drive time ring. Then we can go ahead, click OK. And then for the feature count, normally Maptitude will count the number of hospitals, hotels, museums, restaurants, schools, and shopping areas. But for this, I can just go ahead and hit none. Click OK. Click OK one more time. And then we can calculate those demographics now. So we can see this table here. Maptitude is also generating a pre-formatted document for us. But this table here looks like the half-mile radius or half-mile drive time. Sorry, driving distance. Okay, so this is a pre-formatted document. The half-mile driving distance shows us that there's 2 clients in there with 20 number of units from 0.5 to 1 mile. There's 8 clients, 125 units, and then 1 to 1.5 miles, 15 clients with 230 units. So not only you can use the demographic information included with Maptitude, you can also use your own client information, sales information as well in these reports. Right, so that's the drive time rings here. I can go ahead and hide these for now using the display manager. And let's say we have a different scenario on our hands. Let's say that we have these 5 candidate sites. So site 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's say we are looking to set up just 2 sites. So we have these 5 candidate sites where we could set up a location, but we want to find out which of these 2 locations would it be best to set up a location in order to service all of our clients, all 60 of our clients here. So Maptitude has a built-in tool called the Facility Location Analysis that can help us answer this question. So we can go to Tools, Analysis, and then Facility Location. And the first thing that we can do is choose the clients or the stops or locations that we have to service or serve. So in this case, these are the 60 clients that I have. And then for our candidate facilities, these are the sites layer here, 5 sites. Optionally, we can also have existing facilities on the map. So if we are looking to add new locations to an already existing network of locations, we can choose this option here. So since we don't have any existing locations, I'll go ahead and skip this and go to next. Now we can choose how we are calculating the best service or best coverage. In this case, we can choose route. Since there are only 60 points, you can also optionally do straight lines, which are less accurate, but will be a faster process or calculation to run. For this one, we can do a route. We can also have Maptitude skip clients or skip routes that are longer than their time or distance measure. So let's say each site will only consider the clients that are within an hour drive time. Now we can choose the number of new facilities. So let's say we want to set up 2 new facilities. And then we can also choose the best or the type of service that we want to offer. So best overall service will ensure that all the clients are minimized the distance to the site. Best service for clients that are farthest away will prioritize or ensure that the clients that are far away from sites still have appropriate coverage. And then we also have an option where we want to keep the facilities away from the clients. So in this case, we want the best overall service, and we can also do a waiting field. In this case, we can choose the number of units that each client is requesting. So clients that are requesting a larger number of units will be prioritized in this analysis here. Okay, so we can go ahead and click finish. And then Maptitude will run that analysis here. Okay. So now we can see that there are these 2 green check marks, and that is the sites that Maptitude has determined to be the best locations for our 2 sites. And that's how we can use that facility location analysis. Okay. So with these 2 new locations, since they are set up as a selection set, I can choose to hide all of these other sites by right-clicking on the left-hand side here, and then choosing Show this set only. And that will hide sites 1, 3, and 5. And the label, instead of this red color, I can go ahead and change that by clicking on the label icon next to the new facilities entry, and then changing the color here. Okay. So now that we have our 2 new sites that we are going to be creating at these locations, let's say we want to calculate how far it takes from each of this site, from 2 of these sites, to each of the clients that I have here. We can use the distance and travel time tables. So if we go to Tools, Routing and Directions, and then choose Distance and Travel Time Tables, we can calculate the distance and travel time going from each of these 2 sites to each of the 60 clients here. So the origins would be the sites, the 2 sites that we have. Destinations would be the clients, all 60 of them. We can also choose to skip routes that are longer than a measure of time or distance. In this case, we can do all of them. And then we can also choose to output the table into Excel. But for now, I'll just keep this within Maptitude. So if I click OK, I will have a table with 120 entries. So we have 60 from site 2, going to client 1, client 2, client 3, client 4, and then from site 4, going to each of the clients there. Right, so that's how we're able to use the distance and travel time tables to calculate the distance and time it takes from a set of locations to another set of locations. Okay. So now we can also create routes based off of these points or clients that I have here. And we can use the routing manager to do that. So if I go to Tools, Routing and Directions, and then Routing and Directions Manager, we can go ahead and create a new route. Let's say we are starting from site 2. And then using this toolbar here, I can go ahead and add our starting position. So I can click on the map using this button right here. I'll just click on site 2. And then I can rename the stop by right-clicking and then choosing a rename. I'll call this site 2. Another way you can add stops is if we have an existing layer, and we can use this add stops button in order to choose the layer that we want to add to our route. So in this case, we can choose all of the clients, all 60 of our clients, and then click OK. And then we'll see all of them added to our route here. So in Maptitude, we could either create the route based off of the order that the clients have been added to the route, but we can also choose to optimize the route. So what this will do is it will reorder the clients in our route here in order to minimize the distance and time for the route. We can go ahead and click optimize, and Maptitude will reorder these clients in order to generate the route that's most efficient. So after this has been created, we can generate a PDF report, which is a step-by-step driving instructions. Or we can also generate the Excel report, which is just a list of the clients, the time and distance it takes to go from one client to the next, but without these, the directions. This is what the PDF report looks like. We're able to see going from client 1 to client 2, these specific turns that are needed. All right, did anybody have any questions about any of the material that we've covered today? You can type your questions in the chat. Yes. So there's a question, can you show how to tag the customers to the 2 sites? It's a great question. So in this case here, we can attach information to the client table with the name of the site that is closest to each of these clients here. And to do that, we'll open up the data view or table for the clients, and I can right click and then go to new data view. And then from here, I can go ahead and right click anywhere and then choose modify. It looks like it was joined to another table because I ran the facility location analysis. So if I go to new data view, that's it. The facility assignments will already tag each client with the site that it is assigned to, and that's the facility name. Also has the cost to the facility. This is based off of the weight, which is the number of units, as well as the distance or the route from the site to the client. So this is one way of being able to tag your customers with the, in this case, 2 new sites, site 2 or site 4. But let's say we want to just do it based off the straight line distance. So we can go ahead and close this table, delete data view. I can go back to window in the top left, see what other tables I have open. So let's close this table as well. And now if I right click clients, choose new data view, I should be able to right click and then choose modify. And then I can go ahead and click add field. So you want to add one new field with the closest site. So I'll click add field. I'll call this closest site. And for the type, since we want to tag or attach the site name, we'll change this to a character field. Character is just a word in this case. So I'll click OK, choose yes. And then if I scroll to the right, I'll see that we have a new column here. So now I can right click this blank column and then choose fill. And then I'll go ahead and choose tag. And then I'll choose the sites layer to tag with. I can choose to consider all 5 of the sites, but in this case, we only have 2 new facilities. So I'll change this to the 2 new facilities and then tag with a site name. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And now we have our 2 sites for each of our clients, or the closest site. There was another question in the routing tool. Can you optimize the 60 customers based on the 2 DC sites at the same time? 30 or so customers would be serviced out of one site and 30 or so out of the other. So we have a tool that does just that. So it's called the Routing, Deliveries, and Pickups tool. So let me first close out of this routing manager. And the drive time rings. So if I go to Tools, Routing, Deliveries, and Pickups, we can set up, similar to the facility location analysis, a set of clients or stops that we need to service and a set of central locations or sites that we will be servicing out from. So let's say that we want to service all 60 of these clients, and we can choose delivery or pickup. In this case, I'll just choose delivery. We can also do a certain time window. If we have multiple time windows, such as the clients are open from 9 to 12 and then from 1 to 5, we can specify 2 time windows. In this case, we can only just choose 1. And we can also choose multiple operation days. In this case, we'll keep it to 1 to keep it simple. I'll go ahead and click Next. And for the stops that we're servicing, we'll choose the clients layer with all the features. So all 60 of the clients. We have the client name, number of units that each client needs, time it takes to service a client, as well as the time per unit. So the time per unit depends on the number of units the client needs, while the fixed time is just the flat time that it takes to service a specific client. So the time windows, I'll just choose 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we can click Next and choose the sites or depots. And these are the central locations that we will be servicing out from. So instead of using all 5, I'll just choose the 2 new facilities that we've determined. And I'll choose the same time windows, 9 to 5. Next, we can specify our vehicles. So unlike the routing manager, we can specify a fleet of vehicles in the deliveries and pickups tool. So in this case, let's say that each of our sites has 1 vehicle. So site 2 has 1 vehicle, and then we can change this to site 4. The cost is a flat cost for the operating cost for the vehicle. So we'll say this is 300 as an example. And then the capacity will need to match up with the number of units that is being delivered in this case. So I will just choose 500 as an amount, and we can go ahead and click Next. There are other options here that you can set for scheduling. So if you have a break time, or if you need to rest after a certain number of hours or minutes of driving, you can specify those here. And we also have options whether or not the vehicle is returned to the depot after they've made their deliveries, and the maximum number of routes per vehicle. So whether or not vehicles can make their deliveries, go back to the depot, and then go back out again to service more customers. So limit it to just 1 route per vehicle, and then we don't have a maximum route time because we do have that 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. stop time. We can go ahead and click Finish, and then Maptitude will create these 2 vehicle routes for each of the sites here. Right. So these are the 2 routes that have been created. Site 2 and Site 4 each has 1 route. And then if I expand this, I can see the clients that are being visited, and I can export this into an Excel file with the listing of the clients, or a PDF, which will be the turn-by-turn instructions for these. So this is another way of being able to map multiple routes from multiple starting locations, servicing multiple end locations. All right, so time is up. But if you do have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to support@caliper.com. I can type that out in the chat. With any questions that you have, we also have other webinars that are scheduled. We do have one on routing, I believe, that are on Wednesdays. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. Let us know if you have any other questions, and I hope this session today was helpful. Thanks, everyone.